Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Presoteric. Another live today, not a pre-recorded video. We will be getting some of those out very, very soon. But today I wanted to recap on some stuff that we were supposed to do before the reboot, which we didn't get around to. And that is the last two polls that we did on the page before we shut down for the months that we did. And we had two polls that didn't go as well as the very first one we did. The first one was great, which was the one that we discussed, that we mentioned yesterday. And in that poll, we had 1,000 votes that were casted in, and the other two have significantly less, but I still nonetheless wanted to do a video on them. So let's just jump straight into it. Now, I do have some notes here, the tablet with me, so I will be referencing some of this as we go through. So on the 15th of October last year, 2018, we did a poll here on Presoteric asking, is a magician's ability to do magic innate or acquired? And we're going to expand on a little bit on what I actually mean by that in just a moment. But for those of you who want to actually see the test results, we have opened up a new album on the homepage right here on Facebook that has all the graphs from those results posted up there, and they will look, assuming you can see well with the lighting here, just like this. I've put a link up here in the description already, and a link to all of our other graphs that we've done already, all the other polls. And every week we're going to be doing a new one, so you can expect a poll every week, results, and a live stream. So this poll ran for 7 days. They always run for 1 week, 7 days. And we drew in 426 votes, which was just more than half than what we did on our original poll, which is talking about, can magic be explained by science? And 426 votes isn't really that much when you think of it, especially when it ran for 7 days. But because we were getting close to closing down for a few months, we weren't really able to get that much promotion on it to get the amount of votes that we're looking for. Now, when we do these polls, we're looking to try and amass somewhere along the lines of 1,000 votes, because that gives us a large enough number to really make some general statements about the data. And so anything really less than that significantly lowers what we can say about the questions that we're asking and the data that we receive from you when you cast your vote. However, nonetheless, we can still use that data and that information, just not in any official paper or document, as that we just put a disclaimer on every single one of our polls saying this. Now, in that poll, 48.8% of people, which was 208 votes exactly, said that a magician's ability to do magic is innate. And 51.2% of people, which is roughly 218, said that it was acquired. Now, let me talk a little bit about what we mean by innate and acquired, because what we found right after we posted this is a lot of people would post in the comments saying that it was both. That, well, it's both innate and acquired. But it cannot be both. By definition, something cannot be innate and acquired. And what we felt that people were referring to was a magician's skill or talent in performing magic. This was not a part of our initial question. Is our ability to perform magic, to do magic, regardless of how successful, regardless of our skill or talent in doing that, just the ability to do magic itself at any level, even at the most smallest basic level? It cannot be both innate and acquired. Because if something is innate, you already have it, which means you do not have to acquire it. What we do believe here at Presoteric is that skill has to be acquired. In order to become efficient at performing magic, you have to acquire that skill through practice, through training, through research. But a magician's ability to do magic, and not just magicians, but all people, their ability to do magic is innate, because we're doing it all the time. Now, this poll greatly depends upon how you interpret what magic is. Your definition of what magic is will affect your answer. And so one thing we have to consider is that everyone who answered this question may have had a completely different view on what magic is. Again, this prevents us from being able to make real conclusions based on these results. We can only make general statements and general kind of ideas from the conclusions we draw. Now, we did get quite a lot of comments on this, and a lot of people seem to be frustrated again with the fact that Facebook only offers 2 options. But that's just something that we have to work around. You cannot do any more than 2 options in these polls when you do them on a page. And so Presoteric has to constantly try and figure out general questions that have more or less yes or no answers to do this. So in our results, we can kind of conclude that most of the community is relatively split on whether or not magic is innate or acquired. More so, I tend to find personally, and this is just based on looking over some of this data and the comments that were associated with it, is that people seem to be very split on where magic actually comes from. Is magic something that you're born with? Is magic something that you have to learn? Is it something that you pick up? Or is it something that only certain people are born with, which is one of the main beliefs that is promoted by psychics, is that they're born with this gift and not everybody has access to that. We believe completely different. We see magic as something that you're already doing. Magic as a term, or what we reference magic, is simply the intentional use of various phenomena to achieve certain results. But everybody is already doing magic anyway, because the process of magic, the conscious mind impressing upon the subconscious and then changing your behaviors to make certain things come into your life, is just an everyday process. The same process when you go to do a money candle is exactly the same process when you go to cook dinner at night. And as such, magic, or what we refer to as magic, is simply the intentional process. And essentially it's doing those things with a different level of awareness of the phenomena that is happening. As such, the ability for someone to perform magic is innate, because it's just part of how we function. It's part of how we as a species function. And it doesn't just extend to us. This extends to any living entity. When an animal decides that it's going to go hunting, it's doing the same thing. When a plant, photosynthesis, all of these things work on the same basic process of mind. And again, this relates to how you view what magic exactly is. But it seems to me that the community, in terms of, is magic this exclusive gift, or is it something that's within everyone? I think that not everybody in these communities tends to have a solid answer. I think that most people don't actually know what they believe or what they think. And again, this comes back to one of the goals of Presoteric. We're trying to remove belief in place of evidence and logic that you can see and hold in your hands and say, okay, well, 1 + 1 = 2. I can see that. This is why these polls are so important, because while we cannot make any specific statements, we can't say with absolute certainty that this results tell us X, Y, and Z. What we can do is make general statements on what the community is thinking. And while some of that may be speculatory, it's still very, very useful. Now, we do have another poll that we haven't gone over before Presoteric did its reboot, and we will be touching on that in another live. I may actually do this one tomorrow. Now, we do have the graphs up here in the link, so if you want to go and check those out, you can. But I'm just going to read off of here what we've actually wrote. We here at Presoteric hold a strong opinion that a person's ability to do what is referred to as magic is completely innate in every single person and living being. In this opinion, we have to emphasize that this does not take into consideration level, skill, talent, or effectiveness. Rather, we simply refer to our ability to do so, what most people would call potential. Many who casted their votes stated that it was or could be both, yet by definition it cannot be both. Many who voted took level of skill and talent of individuals into consideration with this poll, which again we've already established it could not be. So what is it that you think? Do you think that magic is something that only certain people are born with? Do you think that it's something that everyone has? They just simply have to start practicing. Do you think that it's something that people are doing already? It's just that they're unaware of it. Or do you think that magic is something completely different? I am interested to know your view, and we are also interested to know what you think and where you stand on these various questions. And the reason that we want to do so many of these polls is to understand the way that the community thinks. And obviously certain polls are going to be very divisive. We're going to find certain parts of the community which say one thing, and one parts of the community that think completely differently, and that's okay. But what we want to do is to graph a general idea of what people lean to, and that gives us somewhat of a foundation for us to start experimenting and start looking more deeply into the foundations of these various traditions and communities, what they have in common, what they have that's different. This allows us to compile a more effective database for us to conduct experiments and to write papers and to make real strides with our actual system itself. Now, I'm not going to ramble too much more on this because we've more or less covered all of these results here. We don't really have much else to say on this topic. It's a very easy question, and for us, it's a very, very easy answer. There are varying different people who say one thing and say the other, but apart from that, there's not really much else that this topic leans into. It's a very cut and close question. Now, I do want to say before we end this video that we did just release a promo for our next audio course that's coming out, which is called Mind Virus, the Thought Vaccine. And that's going to be coming out next week, a week today, a 60-minute audio course featuring myself and Kinsey Taylor, one of our leading directors, and that's going to be available to you at launch Friday. So if you want to take a look at that, you can jump to our shop. It's already up there. The information is up there, and you can also pre-order it also. We will not be taking any of the cash into our accounts until that release is there, so you can be assured that if there are any delays or whatnot in the actual release, your money will stay right in your pocket until we hit that release button and your course will be in your hands. We have been working with Gumroad trying to get everything set up so it's much more effective and much more easy for you and easy for us, and obviously to make things more easily accessible too. I'm not going to ramble on too much more. I'm going to leave it here, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. I know this was a relatively quick video, but we will be doing another one tomorrow, maybe the next day, doing the other one, which does have a lot more detail and a lot more for us to talk about than this question. So I look forward to seeing you then. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Let's redefine the divine together. We are Presoteric.